Hello everyone, how are you doing? Let's see if we can get David Calhoun up there. There's David Calhoun, going to be the former CEO of Boeing in just a couple months in December. This video is important, ladies and gentlemen, because several lawyers have asked me to bring up cases and case studies, all the rest of that, statutes, concerning the legalities of ANSI-ANAB, the American National Standards Institute and the American National Crediting Board, who are underwriters for the International Accreditation Forum, which is an association of accreditation bodies, both national and international, which means they take all legal responsibility for systematic and product failures, okay, by them being underwriters. We have many contracts, federal contracts, that stipulate that ANSI-ANAB are underwriters for the IAF. So we're going to continue on with this, and their sister organization, by the way, ILAC, the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. Today, this video, and I'm going to hold up my little script here for this, but this video today is about warning the flying public, the legalities of Boeing's David Calhoun brought to light. Yes, he's been on in some function of Boeing since 2009 to present. You have Dennis Muhlenberg, you have Jim McKinney, who started the 737 MAX program. Here he is, Jim McKinney, Dennis Muhlenberg, and Calhoun. Now, their employees were made FAA inspectors, but they were being paid by Boeing. We have some documents here that illustrate to you the conundrum that the FAA and Boeing has. As a matter of fact, when the door popped off the Alaska airline, when David Calhoun was being interviewed by, I think it was MSNBC, please forgive me if that is incorrect, but it was one of the news medias, and he said, he mentioned an escape. An escape is no more than a rejection. An escape, and he hesitated, and he didn't know really the definition of the escape, and he's been involved with aerospace since GE. I think the only thing he knew with GE was touching a cowling on an engine that they were manufacturing. But it's sad. I was there. Ladies and gentlemen, business owners. I was there when David Calhoun was being inquisitioned in June 18th, okay? I'm going to bring this forward. I want to let you hear this. This is an actual document. I cut through it, but it's got a link there. I'll gladly send it to you, 203-556-1493, or Daryl, D-A-R-O-L, TQRS at yahoo.com. Here you go, ladies and gentlemen. I'm only going to read you the first line, and then I'm going to read you in 2019, just a mere 10 years later, what the FAA said. The FAA increased the authority of Boeing's Commercial Airlines Division to self-certify its own aircraft. That's 2009. 2019, in response to questions, FAA spokesperson said in an email, the FAA has never allowed companies to police themselves or self-certify their aircraft. Let me say it again, 2009, the FAA increased the authority of Boeing's Commercial Airlines Division to self-certify its own aircraft. 2019, FAA spokesperson said FAA has never allowed companies to police themselves or self-certify their own aircraft. So we're going to go with David Calhoun. And it is absolutely sheer, I don't even know what to say anymore, because there is such an issue with this, and here we go. David Calhoun, the CEO of Boeing, sits on the American National Standards, well, actually he doesn't, his company does, which means he does, sit on the American National Standards Institute and the American National Accreditation Board. And Boeing sits on the board as a board member and demands these accreditation bodies, ANSI-ANAB, and they did it on their supplier bulletin in 2002, must be ANSI-ANAB accredited on their AS9100 certificate. Also, that's starting in 2002, on their supplier portal, third-party auditor must be ANSI-ANAB or internationally equivalent, and then they sit on the board, the management committee that can grant, suspend, and withdraw certification. That's ANAB and Boeing. ANSI-ANAB, okay? Can they also, okay, we're going to start it from the beginning, and here it goes again. David Calhoun, the CEO of Boeing, sits on the American National Standards Institute and the American National Crediting Board. They demand those accreditation bodies for their suppliers and subcontractors. Can they also be liable for product failure with the aircraft? And can you give some laws that state this? Now, that was asked to me by an attorney. ANSI ANAP as underwriters, along with Boeing demanding them on Supplier Bulletin 2002, Supplier Portal, and Boeing being on ANSI ANAP Management Committee that can grant, suspend, and withdraw accreditation of certification bodies. Yes, I discovered, David Calhoun as the CEO of Boeing and Boeing as a company could potentially be liable for product failure in they influence ANSI ANAP to weaken standards or oversight, failed to ensure suppliers and subcontractors met standards, and prioritize profits over safety. That is ANSI ANAP in conjunction with Boeing. Laws that apply. Sarbanes-Oxley, 15 U.S.C. 7201.7266. Boeing's CEO and board members could face liability for certifying compliance with standards they knew were inadequate. 2, Federal Aviation Administration, which gave them authority. Here you go. FAA Regulation 14 CFR 1-199. Boeing could face liability for compliance with FAA regulations. How can they be? They are, as I read to you, they were made the FAA. Boeing was. There's some conflict here, ladies and gentlemen. Product liability laws varies by jurisdiction. Boeing could face liability for injuries or damage along with defective products, which is a combination of Boeing and ANSI ANAP. Antitrust laws, 15 U.S.C. 1-7. Boeing's influence on ANSI ANAP, restrained trade or competition. They can face antitrust claims. And 5, negligent accreditation laws. ANSI ANAP could face liability for negligent accreditation of certification of suppliers and subcontractors. By them going and getting a certificate and these suppliers sending that certificate and the components back to Boeing, that was negligent on ANSI ANAP, even though the company was demanding it. As the registration company, accreditation body, ANSI ANAP, somebody should have had the chutzpah enough to stand up and say, whoa, we need somebody to go into this facility. In fact, I have a document from ANSI ANAP that, yes, when Boeing did a cursory inspection, they discovered that the inspection was not, number one, the rejections were not sent back to the registration company in a well-positioned time. And that the inspection they came up with many more rejections. I've got that. That's from, I think, 2018. I don't want to go into that. I don't want to go off course, but I've got these documents to corroborate it. So ANSI ANAP, as underwriters for the International Accreditation Form, they formulated that organization and also their sister organization, sister organization, ILAC, the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. They're responsible. David Calhoun should be made to be held responsible, along with Joe Batia, the CEO of ANSI ANAP, along with Russ Cheney, who is the chairman. You bring them down into the hot seat, and don't give them the questions before they get there 3 or 4 weeks, and ask them these hard questions. Let me ask them as a private citizen, because the DHS is contaminated by them sitting on ANSI ANAP's Boeing accreditation body. And I thank you. 203-556-1493 or Daryl, TQRS @yahoo.com.